She explained it was a complicated surgery and that because I didn't take blood, it would be obviously more serious.
We love life, and in any medical situation, we want treatments that preserve or restore our health. But more important, we want to respect the Creator of life and His law on blood.
Beginning in 1998, one of Jehovah's Witnesses, an elder in the United States by the name of R. Jensen, wrote to the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, asking for support on how to respond to questions raised by physicians and insurance adjusters he encountered at his place of employment regarding the position of Jehovah's Witnesses and their refusal to accept blood transfusions. This resulted in a back-and-forth exchange over the next 4 years. The responses from the society reveal how the governing body reasons on this issue, what scriptures they use to support their position, and why they feel it important to enforce a decision, dictating to others what their conscience should or should not allow. Given the seriousness of this issue, it is important for all of Jehovah's Witnesses to know how well-founded this policy is on the Bible. When facing a potentially life-threatening situation, a person should be firmly resolved that he or she is sacrificing his or her life out of obedience to God and not out of loyalty to an organization run by imperfect men. This is the first in a series of videos that will share the actual correspondence between Jensen and the Watchtower Society. Every one of Jehovah's Witnesses should be keenly interested in carefully considering this exchange. It is a matter of life and death. If you would like to read the actual scanned copies of the letters for yourself, please visit my website, preachfromthehousetops.com. I'll place a link in the description. As a preview, here is some information from the Society's website that provides the basic reasons for this policy and how they interpret the Bible to support it.
God first spoke that law to Noah's family. After the flood, God told them that animals could serve as food, but He added, "Only flesh with its life, its blood, you must not eat." Blood represents the life of a creature and should not be misused. God repeated this law to ancient Israel with clear instructions. You must not eat it. You should pour it out on the ground like water. It was the same for early Christians. They received written direction to keep abstaining from blood. Donated whole blood is often separated into its 4 main components: red cells, white cells, platelets, and plasma. We abstain from blood by refusing to accept the transfusion of whole blood or of any of those 4 main components. Blood fractions are things that are extracted from any one of the 4 main blood components. But the Bible does not provide specific direction about using these fractions, so to accept them or not is a personal decision. What questions should Christians ask themselves about medical procedures involving their own blood? What if during the course of a therapy or procedure, some of my blood will be diverted outside my body, and the flow might be interrupted for a time? Does my conscience allow me to view this blood as still part of me, thus not requiring that it be poured out on the ground? What if, during a medical procedure, some of my own blood will be withdrawn, modified, and directed back into or onto my body? Does it trouble my Bible-trained conscience, or could I accept such a procedure? Am I aware that refusing all medical procedures involving the use of my own blood means that I would not accept a blood test, hemodialysis, or the use of a heart-lung bypass machine?
As can be seen, whether in regard to Noah, the nation of Israel, or Christians in the first century, the prohibition had to do with eating blood. Hence, it was a dietary restriction. So, to arrive at the conclusion that receiving a blood transfusion would be displeasing to God would depend on how a person understands what is meant by abstain from blood. The Watchtower Society reasons that transfusing blood is a misuse of it. For instance, if your doctor told you, for health reasons, to abstain from a certain antibiotic, you wouldn't think that only applied to it in pill form, but it would be all right to take it intravenously. Okay, fair enough. But what if your life was in danger, and that recommendation was given you by a person untrained in medicine? Would you take his advice, or would you simply ask your doctor? Of course, we can't simply ask God a question and get an immediate answer. The Watchtower Society assumes the role of interpreter for Christians as to what pleases God and what displeases him. The question is, has God authorized them to make such decisions for others? Do they know God's mind that well? Have they always been right? Another question has to do with what constitutes blood. The Watchtower Society defines blood as whole blood or any of its four main components. But the Bible says nothing about components. But then they go on to say that for a witness to receive fractions taken from these four main components would be up to his or her own conscience. But what is the difference between a component and a fraction? Jensen discovered that doctors were confused about this and genuinely wanted to know. This is the issue that was the subject of his first letter, which will be covered in the next video.